Hey everybody, and thanks for tuning in to Bonsai by Alan. I'm actually going to change my name, the channel's name, because there's another Alan that does bonsai, Alan Sutton. And he has been doing it for so long and he's so popular, the algorithm, when you search for Bonsai by Alan, he comes up. I just sort of disappear. So I'm going to try to make my name a little more distinctive so that when you search for me, you get me. So today I'm going to work on these Parrot's Beak, Melina. And it took me forever to remember that Melina is actually spelled with a G, which is silent. And it's, oh, there was a naturalist named Meline. And of course you just Latinize it by sticking an A on the end. But these guys are just a giant mess. Although if we look down, we see that some of them have some really interesting movement. And they've been grown to allow to become rampant. And Melinas grow very cane-like. And then they've been cut, and then they've been regrown, and that's happened about 2 or 3 times. And some of them, like this one here, is very straight, really doesn't have much going on. But, like I said, like this guy here, has got some really nice movement. Get that branch out of the way there. And if you're looking, you might see that they're in the pots, quote unquote, that they're in our old ice cream containers. And this one here is pretty shabby. But they last about 2 years. And I eat a lot of ice cream, so I thought, oh, you know, they would make a decent training pot. And the reason they last is because even though they're paper, there's a very thin plastic film. And that plastic film holds up quite a while. I'm really surprised at how resilient these guys have been as far as longevity. Now the plants themselves, since they've all grown together, and also since they have little spines, they have some very nice little spines that will poke you rather thoroughly. If I just tried to pull this guy up out of here, it's going to come with 2, 3, 4. See, they're all tied together. So since I'm going to cut back all the excess growth that I've allowed as part of the design, I'm going to cut it all back as a group, all of this stuff as a group. And you may notice that there's some other Parrot's Beak that are much deeper green, have much larger leaves. That's because, excuse the weeds, under the bench I put some in the ground, and you can see how much bigger they are, though they have that 0 taper. And I won't call this a mistake, but it did create some problems for me because, as you can see right here, they just grow right through the bench. And sometimes they just overwhelmed everything. Here's one that just goes to the sky. Like, woo. And that's how Parrot's Beak grow. They're very cane-like. So I'm going to dig them up, but not in this video. In this video I'm just going to chop away at these guys. And then there's so many. And not all of them are in ice cream containers. This one is in a 1-gallon pot that was chopped down, and then I stapled, at least in theory, the staples didn't last. I stapled the top of the pot back to the bottom to give it a little more stability. And then this one is in a food container. And this type of plastic holds up to the sun quite well. So that when it comes to styling these guys, that will probably be individual videos. And you know, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deep, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 50 trees. So that's a lot of videos to put into one, a lot of trees to put into one video. 14 hours long. Today though, I'm just going to do a massive haircut on these guys. And because they do have such happy little spines, ooh yeah. I wear gloves. I don't like to wear gloves because you lose your feeling, but I certainly wear gloves for 2 reasons mainly. One is if something has really gooey sap, sticky, nasty sap that's going to get all over you. and the other is if it's going to bite back. Things like bougainvillea and the parrot's beak. And what else have we got that has nasty spines? Actually, I think I have a fetish for spines because I have 4 or 5 different species of tropical tree that all have spines to some degree. Brazilian rain tree is another one that comes to mind. So I think it's time to get started. Put the gloves on, grab my clippers, and I'm just going to kind of mow the lawn, you know, just chop all the tops off, because none of that's ever going to be part of the design of the tree. But it does help with thickening and also with movement. So that's the end of, I guess, part 1. I'm going to go get my clippers and start to mow the lawn. Okay, I'm going to see if I can pull this off. Got my clippers, and we're just going to go. And at this point, I'm just going to let everything fall. And this is going to take forever, so I think I'm just going to turn the camera off and just run through it. The haircut is complete. They're now all about 8 inches, 10 inches, and it really doesn't look like it's that much different. But here's proof with all the cuttings sitting on top of another seed bed with a little wire on top to keep the squirrels from excavating, because boy do they love to dig. So I don't really want to just have this video about, let's just give these guys all a haircut and to let them sit there. So I'm going to feature the one that we actually started with, this guy right here. And I'm going to style him. I'm going to put the camera on the tripod, and then of course there's still a lot to remove, but I really like the movement of this guy, and I think he's going to be quite an interesting little guy once he's finished. And get him a different pot, because this one here has about met its lifetime, and it's time to get another pot. So stick him here, turn off the camera, stick it on the tripod, and we'll be back with that. Here we have the subject, and I wish this was in 3D, because this guy here that looks like it's shooting horizontally, you know, not horizontally, is actually coming right at us. It's coming right at us. So that guy comes off. And actually, I've got them, so use the appropriate tool, concave cutters. Okay. Then where are we going to go with here? You know, we could conceivably bring it up like this. Chop this guy off, and I think this guy's coming off anyway, because certainly don't want it. It's also coming way too far forward. So now that gives us, so we could bring it up into there, make a tree like that. But I kind of like one of these as the leader, probably this guy, to give it a little more gracefulness. And this one, which could be the leader, if we go like that, can actually end up being the first main branch. In a perfect world, the first main branch would come right out of here, but it don't, so. And this one is coming from inside the crook, so I'm taking that whole thing off. Okay. And if this, keep moving it around, so gotta make sure I'm still in focus. And we have a back branch that can be shortened. And so if this is the first main branch, we probably want to take it right to there. Take all of that off and then shorten him tremendously too. Remember, this is what I call a skeletonization. I remember Jim Smith, when he was alive, we would go to his nursery and he would take a huge narrow leaf ficus and do this with it. And the beginners, of course it was this giant bush when it started, and the beginners would just be confused, like, why did he do that? But in the end, you'll have a better tree if you do this. Do-do, 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 do-do. And this guy is not in a perfect place for the second main branch. In a perfect world, it would be coming out right there. But once again, no big deal. We'll cut him way back, and then we're going to cut this guy way back. And then the leader is so straight, what I call stovetop. It could be wired a little bit, but it still needs to be shortened. Got some little bit of dead. And a couple of spines. So one thing about Parrot's beak is when you grow them as bonsai, they, see if we can zoom in a little more. Not while I'm recording. So that's about it. And once again, ain't much there. And an interesting root where it escaped out of the pot. So I'm going to do a repotting, and I'm going to put it into a more appropriate container, which is another ice cream container. Why not? Actually, this one is almost 9 months old, July of 2023, so it's not like I saved them for quite a while. And we could probably, you know, this is the front compared to the container, but the front is probably going to be more like that. Give this guy, give the first two main branches 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, and then the apex, and then let it fill out. So the repotting process is, first of all, I have to poke holes in the ice cream container. So we will do that after I turn the camera off. Off camera, I prune the roots and remove some of the old soil and put it in its new pot, which is Moose Tracks ice cream. Yummy. And I poke holes in the bottom, and I use an auger to do that. And I sharpened it on a grinder, so it's a little bit different than the ones you buy in the store. And then a little bit of fertilizer. Young trees like this, I like to give a little more fertilizer. And this is pretty comical. This is what's left of the old pot. Just paper thin, literally. There's the bottom. Pretty comical. But you know, they work. They last a couple of years because they actually have that plastic film. And if you look at the recycle on these, because now, you know, everybody has the little recycle thing, whether it's recyclable or not. These are not, because they do have that plastic coating. And in fact, I believe it says not recyclable coated paper. So that's it for this video. I think this guy will develop quite nicely and make a nice little crown. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and you'll be notified next time I do an update on this guy and everything I grow. And subscribe. I just said that, didn't I? What is it? Like, subscribe, comment. I think that's it. So thank you so much for watching. And I've only got 49 more to go.